The world is changing and many people are living in fear. Join me on this journey as we find new ways to love more, celebrate life, and connect with our body, mind, and our souls. Together we'll let go of fear and embrace our power. Welcome to Fearless Spirit with Tara Cridland. Hi, and welcome back. I am practicing recording on video more often, even though I'm really good at this when I'm live. Oh, my ear is ringing. I am actually recording this for the podcast as well. So this might be a little, I'm not even going to say it because that's one of the things. So today I really wanted to talk to you about how to create more sacredness and love for yourself in your daily life. And instead, what came up this morning is I'm actually doing a spiritual business building course with Lee Harris. If you don't know who he is, he channels the Z's, and you can find him on leeharrisenergy.com and also on YouTube on Lee Harris Energy. And I just want to put kudos to him because I'm just starting module 1. And he reposted his Q&A calls from last year as part of module 1. And I'm sure he did that because we're going to have a live call at the end of the month, and he doesn't want the same questions re-asked. I'm sure. That's my personal theory. That doesn't mean I'm right, but that's my personal theory. And so I'm sharing that with you because it triggered me immediately. It's not even halfway through the call, and a woman did a live question. And one of the things she asked was that she's kind of struggling, and not in her business. Her business seems to be fine, but she's struggling more with just feeling connected to people. And one of his advices that just brought up so much for me was, because I'm experiencing kind of the opposite. And that is, I like I said in my last podcast, I just moved. And I moved a lot over the last few years, but this place, and I'm going to cry on this podcast, I'm not ashamed of that. And I encourage you to feel your emotions, because this move has been so heart opening and has been cracking me open. And I'll get into that. And part of that journey for me has been to deeply love myself at a new level. And so her question was how to connect with people, and his ability to read, because he's also an intuitive, was to share with her how she's deeply connected to her Syrian side and her energy and her multidimensional beingness, but she's not connected to her humanness. And what I discovered with that is literally I'm listening to that. I went to grab the cushions to bring them into this room to record, and just leaning over and grabbing these very light cushions, my back went out. Such deep gratitude to have this most amazing partner that practices this incredible healing modality called alpha biotic spinal alignments. So I was able to pop in while he's working, he works from home, and just say, hey, when you have a minute, I need an alignment. My back just went out. And he's also an amazing coach. And he was able to ask me just some really heartfelt questions for me to ponder and be honest with. And what came up is that I have spent so much time in my physical world practicing on being really just healing my traumas, healing my woundings, healing me as a human being, expanding, evolving, regulating my nervous system, really diving into the psychological part of it, the energetic and the physical world part of it, and the emotional part of it, so that I've become this deeply regulated person. And my spiritual side's always been there. It's just this, I would say it's second nature, but it's actually nature. And I love that. I heard that from a channeler recently, where it's not a second nature, it is who I am. So it's never been this external needing to develop kind of thing, although I have done a lot of trainings and in development just to ensure that I'm continuing to live right way, and that I haven't developed any unhealthy spiritual habits. And so I'm always about, that's one thing you'll learn about me in listening to the podcast, listening to like all the different things about me is that I love learning and I love teaching. And I love teaching what I've learned. And I love teaching what I've learned from other people, even not just in trainings, but from just clients and friends and just the wisdom around me. And what came up and what's so deeply heart opening for me is that I have difficulty creating a physical community. I have no problem attracting in the people who need my guidance and my abilities of healing. And even in that, like acknowledging that I'm not just facilitating. Yes, I work directly with your spirit team and all that, but it's because of me as a human and my personal abilities that I can do that. And it's okay to acknowledge that I am a deeply gifted person in many realms, in the physical and the astral realm. And I encourage you to celebrate yourself as well, because this is stuff that we don't do. It seems like it's egotistical. And that's one of the things that came up. It came up that I've naturally been very good at this kind of stuff. Physical and emotional and spiritual my whole life. And that made me stand out. And it became unacceptable for me to love myself at that level. And that's where my wounding happened, was that I was told that I was egotistical or arrogant just because I loved me and celebrated me and what I could do. And so it became, in this society, especially for women, it became out of style to just be like, I did that. I'm so proud of myself. Look what I did. And so I found that I've done all this deep healing work on myself, and in the physical realm, even in coaching realm, teaching realm, and even in spiritual realm, I'm so deeply tuned in and dialed in. And I have difficulty making worldly friends because I have done so much work that I'm having difficulty finding the people that are at that equal state as well. And what I mean by that is not that they've done everything I've done, but that when I can come to them as a human being who needs support and feedback, that they have that wisdom to share back, that I'm not just there. And I realize, even saying this, my ego, and so I'm going to get to this because this is a journey that I'm going to share with you, personal journey that you might resonate with. This might be something this is stuff we don't talk about, right? So as I'm talking to my partner and he's asking me these questions about, what's coming up, I realized that I had this protective mechanism I created of the story from a little girl that I was superior to others. And it wasn't egotistical. It was my protection to not let my heart be broken when people didn't want to play with me, when I was called too sensitive or weird or all the other things that people would call me, and even my family would call me to give the excuse to exclude me from things. And so instead of just feeling the hurt and loving myself anyway, I developed this protective mechanism of a belief system that then, because of my abilities, I'm slightly more superior to them. So that's why I can't relate to them, because I'm more gifted, or whatever the story was, right? And I share this with you because it takes a lot to admit when you're really doing the deep work. Like it was a protective coping mechanism. It was my way of almost excusing their bad behavior towards me in exchange, and then giving myself the reason why it's okay that I'm not in a strong community and why I'm alone. And even when I've been in a community, why I've been kind of sectioned out at some point for being who I am. And it is a lot because I'm deeply connected to my spiritual abilities, and it can be unnerving because I am claircognizant, I am clairvoyant, I am clairsentient. And I'm also in human design, a self-projected projector. And what that means is I am able to go right into your energy field and I know everything about you. And that makes people very unnerved. And that will make people very uncomfortable. And what I realize is I've gotten to know myself over the years and I have learned about who I am, even as a projector. So if you don't know your human design, and you're curious, it's kind of like it's astrology and then some. So it's all these different principles of Dao Ching, not Dao Ching, is it the I Ching? Sorry, I Ching, astrology. There's like 4 or 5 different principles that have been combined so beautifully to give you this more rich like version of who you are as a being. And then even then, there's so many complexities that you can study human design forever and still keep discovering new stuff. But if you would like to know more, you can go to human.design.com and create a free account. And then as you're creating that free account, you can put in your information. You can also do free charts for everyone else. That's why I like that one. But it gives you a 16-page report that gives you a good starting point of who you are. And so just to find out, and it was very validating for many ways because as a projector, because I am one of the few, we only make up 20% of the population. We are a newer energy type. We tend to repel people. And the reason why is because we have such a piercing aura that unless you come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I need what you can give me, and you open your heart, whether it's friendship, relationship, guidance, teaching, healing, whatever it is, if you don't recognize that in me and want that from me, then I walk in the room and I pierce you, it can feel very uncomfortable and invasive, right? So I really practiced containing my energy now, holding it for myself, unless someone says, hey, read me, basically is what they're saying, like, hey, read me and help me. Because that's basically what ends up happening is I can read everything about you right away. I get all these intuitive ability hits. I just know about you. And sometimes people are like, that's not it. And they get very upset. But it's because it was true and it wasn't something they were ready to hear. And so I actually learned. So that's why I've gotten really good at the physical world. And knowing that as a little girl, not having that recognition of being put in a very adult position where my father was very ill and my family, as much as they loved me, didn't have that time and energy to nurture me. I was left alone a lot. And so that came up because there's been this separation, this story of I'm superior, so therefore. And for you, there might be other stories, right? So it's time to get really honest about the stories. And so with that, and I'm actually going to do channeled message today because this is part of this process is trusting my abilities and not being afraid to share this message. But I got really clear with that where my business is not taking off at the level I want it to is because there's a part of me that's been pushing my personal beliefs back on not believing that I can have that community. It like has nothing to do with my business because I have no problem helping others. It's about being open-hearted to allow people to come in and become my friend and trust that they want to be my friend. And it sounds crazy because I do all this work and I do have a strong community and that story just keeps prevailing. And I'm in a new environment, so I'm having to create new community. Even though I have a strong community, they're not a local community anymore. So my little thing I do is I qualify myself or I used to because I'm not really doing that much anymore. But it is a challenge for me to go out there and just be myself and attract friends that don't turn into clients. Now I'm realizing that's why, right? It's not just the superiority, but it's my little heart, my little girl heart. So we're talking about little Tara today because little Tara is coming up and she just needs love and she needs reassurance and she needs to know that she can attract people, friends, community that are just like her on many levels and who just love her and don't need her to heal them or fix them, or, which, by the way, I don't fix anybody. But that's the little story, right? That's that little story that she tells of why she keeps people at a distance. And just even being willing to talk about this on a podcast episode that I know maybe only 4 of you are listening to right now, but one day more will hear, is so freeing because it makes me human just like you. It makes me vulnerable just like you. And it makes me real on this planet. And even though I have some seriously... So I just stopped the recording because I realized right in the middle of my sentence, because I realized I did not have my microphone on. So it's probably the first half of this podcast is going to sound kind of like from a distance, and then it'll sound better now that my microphone's on. Anyway, yeah, so why am I sharing all this with you and just being like blubbery and crying? Well, because that's part of loving yourself. It's part of being in your self-development journey, that we get to have these days where I feel really emotional. And I realize it's the first day I felt emotional since I moved to Oregon, that I've been in awe. I've been a little stressed about, oh my goodness, how are we gonna like suddenly take care of this big house that we're in, and all these different things have come up. But knowing that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, like I've not felt so grounded and right in a space for a long time, and I feel grounded and right in this house. Like, and I'm right. What I mean is, like, I am right where I am supposed to be. Like, this is my home. Wow, it just feels so good to even say that out loud. Like, I think I found my home. Like, I love this house. And man, it just fall in my lap. And with that, then is all the things. When we talk about manifestation and creation, when we talk about self-development, what we don't talk about, right, it's always the sunshine and roses. But the truth is, when you get what you want, you're going to also have a lot of stuff come up that is going to be the darker stuff, the shadow side stuff, the things that are uncomfortable of, now that I have it, can I hold it? Now that I have it, am I actually a person who deserves it? Now that I have what I asked for, is it where I belong? Can I trust this to stay around for a while? Like, there's so many things we don't realize that, like, ladies and gentlemen and everyone else who is people, beings, loves, whatever you go by, whoever you identify as, you're all welcome here, by the way. Souls, every one of you. When we are asking for certain friends or partners, and we want them to be a certain level and way towards us, and we get that, what we asked for, the next level is, how do we become and stay and continue to expand to be the person who has the vibration to receive these other people and or situations or places or things that we get to healthy and lovingly enjoy, receive, and have. And I'll give you an example. I have been asking for a partner that was my equal for so long. And I kept attracting toxic men into my life, men that seemed like they would be that person. Then very quickly after we are officially together, they shift into someone who cannot support themselves or me, who cannot, and I mean support, like even emotionally, right? I can make money, no problem. That's not what I'm talking about. But for some of you, that might be what you need. And in the same time, there is a part of me that kind of wants, for a little while, that person to support me a little bit financially. And yet,
That's awesome, my little girl, just wanting to have a rest for a while. But guess what? I can have a rest for a while and I can still make money. And that's part of what I've been really healing over the last 4 years, and is really much, much more healthy in that balance, right? Of my partner now is such a divine masculine, because that's what I personally really wanted, was a divine masculine, someone who balanced me in a way where my whole being gets to be in her divine feminine. That's my desire. You may have a different desire, and whatever your desire is, it is correct, because you are a different being. That is perfect too. And once we have that person, first of all, if we're attracting the same people over and over again, right? I had to look at that. If I'm attracting that same person over and over again, who am I as a person? Where am I not healing and seeing myself? So I dove into that, and I healed that on so many deep levels. And I attracted this amazing person into my life. And at the time that I met this person, I was actually dating and living with someone else, and they had just broken up with their partner on their way to moving to Mexico, where I met them. And we became good friends. And we hung out together as a group. And he moved back to the United States. And I broke up with my partner, and we still can maintain friendship. And we were just friends for a whole year. And I took my time to keep doing my work on myself. And he took his time doing his work on himself. And we just became each other's biggest cheerleaders. And one day, we realized that we were Zoom dating, that there was more to this relationship from the start, but we took our time. And that was different for me. That was different for me because I actually kept checking in with me and making sure I was getting my own needs met first, and not giving my whole self to this person. And as this relationship grew, it became the most beautiful, healthiest relationship I've ever known. And eventually my partner invited me to come and become a partner and move in and start our lives together. And we've never looked back. And I have been so grateful. But I want to share this part of my vulnerability today, that when he was living in Maui at that time, and I moved into his place in Maui. The person he was renting the apartment from is a dear friend and a mother figure. And he didn't ask her permission for me to move in. So when she realized that I wasn't just visiting, that I was staying, she was upset, and she took it out on me at first. Now we're good friends now. We worked it out. But that was number one. That very quickly, it was a simple mistake on his part. He corrected it, he repaired it. And then I had to establish a relationship with this person. So I got there, and he is just like me. He is all into self-development and doing his work and connecting with people and having a strong community, and continually getting his own coaching and his own growth. And I've never been with someone like him. I've always been with someone who wanted me that I was the more developed one, that I was the leader of the relationship, that I was the one who, brought in the wisdom and that I did all the growing and self-help. And I even had a partner at one point years and years ago, 20 years ago, who literally said, just stop. Stop what? You stop learning, stop growing, stop expanding. You're leaving me behind, and I will never catch up. And I literally in that moment said, but that's who I am at a deep DNA level. That's who I am. I can't stop this. And I realized in that moment, and I even said, but if you're okay with where you are, then I'm okay with where you are. But he wasn't okay with where I was, because he didn't want me to be more expanded than him where he was. I want to say it in a nice way, because I don't believe, truly in my heart, I don't believe that I am better than anyone else. However, my little girl likes to have that story sometimes, right? And so we're working on that. We're working on healing that part of her, because it was a little heart that she was protecting. And so it was difficult for me, because I realized that I had created in my life a pattern where I was the one going out and running my own business and putting my time and effort into starting these wonderful businesses. I had my own business for years and years as a massage therapist, and when I was rebuilding it in Las Vegas area, I had to put a lot of time and effort into it. And I was also a yoga teacher. I've been pretty much working for myself most of my life. I was the one leaving to go and develop myself. I was the one with love, leaving my family at home to hang out after I fed them the delicious meals and go work on myself and become the best version and be out there in the community and connecting with everyone, and then coming home to connect with my family at a different level every time. And all of a sudden, I was the one being left at home while he was out doing his work, being being the best version of himself, right? He was going out, and every Thursday he had a men's group he was going to. And he was working with high evolved friends, and he was the massage therapist because he's also a massage therapist. He's been doing it for 34 years. I've been doing it for 24 years. So he was the one out bringing in going out and really, truly, deeply helping people and then bringing home the big chunks of money. And it used to be me. And instead of going, oh, finally, someone who could do that for me, I was so uncomfortable. I realized that I was so comfortable being the one who was doing that. I was so comfortable being the one who was going out and creating community and in trainings and in school and in development and being the one that had my business that was supporting the family. And even though I said I wanted that, when I actually got back into this situation where I was not the one doing it, they were doing it. And they were doing it beautifully. And I felt like, oh no, what if I can't catch up? What if he leaves me behind? And I realized that even when we ask for certain things, we have to be prepared that we still have to keep growing in order to have these things still in our lives. And so I had to do my own work around that. I had to do my own work around feeling all of a sudden like maybe I was less than because I wasn't the one doing it. He was, and I was the one just being at home for a while, which was so out of character for me, that I was the one staying home and just being in my own space or reading my book. Now, mind you, I was still doing self-development, but my mind had created the story that self-development looked like ABC, leaving the house, having the outside community, having the trainings I was having to attend on Zoom and locking the door to be in that space or whatever, that I had that definition so solid in my mind that when he was doing all those things and I was just staying home, meditating, connecting to spirit, being in creativity, just creating different things, creating like clearing sprays and developing, turns out I'm not so bad at designing things. So like creating graphic design stuff, like me and Canva become best friends almost. And even so, my friend's even more advanced, and I watch her because we're doing a program together, and I'm like, oh, I can't even do that, but still I'm getting there. And doing all these things, it still didn't define in my mind that I was doing self-development. It still made me feel like he was leaving me behind. And so I had to do that work on that belief system and that way of realizing that I was the person in the other shoe now. And how do I get really good with that? Because otherwise I was going to start sabotaging this amazing, healthy, expansive, deeply divine relationship. And so I had to really work with that. And I had to love myself more. And I say had, but I didn't have to. I got to. I chose to. I made the decision and choice to be deeply self-responsible, to feel all my feelings, to acknowledge that the little girl is in there freaking out. Little Tara was like, oh my God, what if he leaves? What if we're boring? What if we're not enough? What if our amazing cooking is just like whatever because I didn't go because I'm not in a program or I'm not making all this money right now. At that time, I'm still doing just fine. But well, you know what? It doesn't even matter, right? It doesn't even matter. I'm doing enough to pay the bills I have right now. Am I making more? Not right now, but that's okay because I'm actually on a different purpose and I am slowly and authentically this time around building a business that is my purpose. And so I'm taking my time. And I really want to invite all of you to begin to shift. I will actually cover next episode what it really means to be in true abundance, because that is where my spirit team has been taking me lately. But today it's been about my little girl. It's been about me loving myself where I'm at, knowing that I am so valuable. Oh, and I'm going to go right there. I was channeling the other day and I was feeling into and asking where and what it was that was holding me back from really truly being in that expansiveness that I've been ready to be in my business, in my life. And it had nothing to do with the money. It had nothing to do with my business. What it had to do with is that I kept giving my value away to beings, situations, and people who didn't honor my value because I wasn't honoring my value. And I had given too much of it away. And they took me through this beautiful, deep healing. They literally woke me, they meaning my guides, my spirit team. So let's just clarify that, because I woke up in the middle of the night. Well, 3:30, that's middle of the night for me. And I was asked to clear the house because there was a couple of weekends back, and you may have experienced it, where spirit activity kicked up like hardcore for many people. I'm in a hypnotherapy group these are my people, by the way, where we all had big experiences with tons of spirits just coming in around us and in our house. Like the veil was like almost non-existent. And so I had visitors in my house, which I normally don't. And I was asked to clear the house. So in bed, I filled it with white light. I put my house in a big bubble, and then I brought roots from that bubble down into the earth to ground my house and to protect my house. And once I did that, my mom showed up. Now that's because she's never directly come to me after her passing. She's come through other mediums, but she came to me directly and she started talking to me. And she did this profound healing on her heart and all of her ancestors' hearts and my heart. Our whole family line got a healing of our heart. And that's probably why all this is coming up. And what it showed me was that I had given my value too freely away to everyone because I didn't value myself at the level that I deserve to be valued. That my value had nothing to do with what was in my bank account. That my value had nothing to do with whether I had a successful business or not. My value had nothing to do with how clean I keep the house or how good I cook the food. That my value was me as a divine being, and that who I was as a whole being in person was extremely valuable, even if I just chose to sit on the couch all day and do nothing. That I had so much value that just being in my presence with myself and with others was enough, because I had so much to give. And instead of recognizing that and holding my value precious and really honoring who I was as a being, I kept giving away to everyone because I just wanted them to like me. And so we called all of that back. And it was so interesting because every person that I had overgiven to stood in front of me one by one. And with so much love, I took back my value. from them. And I even had to say, or I was invited to say, you didn't honor the value that I gave you. And so I'm taking it back now. And I did that with every relationship that I had. I did it with every friendship that I had. I did it with many situations that I was in. One by one, they came in front of me and I took back my value. And I did it with love. It wasn't done out of anger or necessity. It was done out of invitation and desire to own and hold all of my value. And so this next layer of being revealed that my little girl is deeply desiring a strong community of people in the human world that have the capacity to be a friend back was so deeply just because she's so fearful that they don't exist when I know they do, because I have this beautiful community, because I believe now in quality over quantity. And I also am being invited to rewrite that story, that protective story that I'm superior because it protected my heart. It kept me from getting hurt. It kept me from being very vulnerable because as a little girl, I had bright red hair. And I was in a school where I was one of, I think, only one redhead. It was actually a very diverse school growing up, and I was not common. And I was bullied a lot. I was bullied so bad in junior high that my parents had to actually take me out of the only school we had in our town and put me in a different school in a different town and drive me to that town every day so that I could be around people who weren't bullying me. And I realized I was bullied even as an adult. And the funny thing is that nobody was really bullying me, but I saw it that way, that the one person who needs the most work and healing was zeroing in on me. I was a flight attendant for 8 years and I was transferred. I had a bully over at the one base I was at. And she wasn't a big bully like zeroing in, but she was never kind to me when we worked together. She just, for some reason, wanted to pick on me, right? And that happened again over at the other base I was transferred to. When I was transferred to Florida, and there was this one particular person. And now, mind you, this person was a bully to everybody, but they bullied me. They zeroed in on me. They had it out for me. And I have no idea. Well, I do now because she kind of expressed why. But then my superiority belief system kicked in, that little girl. And this is not my adult superiority because this is my little girl. Sometimes, and I invite you to be really honest with yourself. When I'm sharing the story, are you tuning into where your little kid is taking over? Because as much as we do all this work, and I'm turning 50 this year. So this little kid, all of us, I've met 80-year-olds, I've met 90-year-olds who still have that little kid taking over. And it's okay. But if you're wanting to do this work and expand, it's time for all of us to be honest where that little kid is taking over. And I'm not saying be adult and serious, because it is so healing to be childlike and joyful and to be playful and to tune into and connect to your inner child and the heal, hold version of that, not the wounded child. And the wounded child, even though she's been mostly healed, I would have to say 85%. There's 15% in there that we're still slowly finding. But that 15% wounded child, we moved next door. We ended up finding this amazing little condo, and it turns out we moved right next door to the bully. And when I was alone with that bully, they were very different outside of work. It turned out that that bully was actually scared of me. It turned out that that bully was fearful of me. They were fearful of me physically and emotionally. They knew I saw through them. And so the reality was that it wasn't because they didn't like me, it's because they were afraid that I would reveal who they really were, not by telling on them, but because being in their presence shines the light on people. One of my abilities is that I am a truth seeker and a truth finder. And I guess if you want to dive into astrology, I am a Scorpio. And so I am the kind of person that when I walk in a room, if someone's up to no good, it gets a light shined on it so bright, like a spotlight, and the truth gets revealed. Whether I want it to happen or not, the truth gets revealed. And so this person could feel that in me. And so they were trying to discredit me so that when the truth was revealed, nobody would believe it. And I'll be honest, I stayed kind to her on the external. But there was a man who passed away in my condo that she was good friends with. And I actually cleared my condo and invited them. This is my little girl again. I'll take responsibility because this all came up when my partner was asking me these deep questions today. I said, oh my gosh, you know what? Instead of loving the bully as a grown-up, you're right. I was never unkind to her in person and never talked badly about her. And when people did try to talk bad about her, I actually shut it down and walked away. I wasn't going to partake in that. However, you better believe that my little girl talked to that spirit and encouraged him to go to her place and to make sure that his presence was super known to her. And I'm laughing because I realized how ridiculous that was, because that was actually kind of cruel. Because if she didn't believe in spirits or she was afraid of it, how was I helping her? I wasn't. And that wasn't okay. And I haven't done anything like that since. That was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I haven't done anything like that since because I realized that that was not who I am as a person. And I did the work around that. And so I've had other people in my life try to be bullies or act bullyish to me. And instead now, in the last few years, I've just instead stood my ground with love for myself, not engaging in the tactics and loving on that person. I didn't tolerate it. I had strong boundaries that were loving for myself, that did not engage in any kind of drama. Learning how to actually just honor my boundaries, remove myself from the situation, and send them love. Because I've been in similar situations in the last couple of years where instead of being in this drama and all that, they've been in their drama attempting to bully, and I've just been in compassion and love with them. And had strong boundaries and kept them at a distance because I'm not available. I'm not available to be. And in that respect, I have actually deeply regulated my nervous system. So instead of being triggered by this, I'm able to see where they've been wounded. And this part of that is because of my deep journey of becoming a coach, a highly trained coach now, because I've done a lot of training. It has regulated my nervous system, and it has allowed me with compassion to see where that behavior is stemming from. And also at recognizing if they don't want to have that healing work done, that is not for me to put it on them. I am here and available for those who are ready to do the work. And I can still keep my distance with love, send them love from a distance, have compassion for them, and not engage. And what I discovered is that who could have been a bully, it took the wind out of their sails because I wasn't ready to argue. I wasn't available to argue with them. If they wanted to be that way, then I reacted with maturity and compassion and care and with boundaries. And I would just say, if that's what you feel and that's what you need, then sure, I honor that. But I'm not available to have this conversation right now. And I'd walk away. And I'd walk away not because I wasn't knowing who I was. I walked away because I know that that person is deeply wounded and they just want to fight. Understanding that they want to fight because that's the only way they know how to love. But I'm not interested in loving someone that way. Not anymore. Not for a long time. But it takes the wind out of the sails because I'm not available for drama. I'm not available for my energy to be pulled down. I'm not available for my adrenals to be taxed because I had almost complete adrenal failure at one point in my life from the levels of stress that I now realize I allowed myself to be in. Being in a narcissistic relationship and and never regretting that relationship because it was the most maturing, most clarifying, most life expanding soul growth experience I ever had. And I learned so much. And I learned how to show up when people that are not, that are exhibiting codependent behavior or toxic behavior, that I'm not available for that. And yet, here's this little girl still afraid of making friends. Here's this little girl still afraid that they won't have the capacity to show up for me because in that superior belief is also that I'm too much. And a lot of you, if you're in female body especially, we are told that. You talk too much. Oh yeah, I've been told that. My grandmother used to tell me, slow down, you're going to get a ticket. I was constantly told that I talk too loud, too much. I was told that I loved too hard, that I was too energetic, too fierce, too confident, too this, too that, right? Tone it down, tone it down, tone it down. Be smaller, be quieter, be less than. Because who you are is too much. And people don't love people like that. And so to protect my heart from being told that over and over again, even when someone was doing it because they care, I developed that belief system that I'm superior. Now, I keep saying that it's not my current because that's not who I am as an adult. I know that I'm not superior. I know we all are at our different stages of our learning process. That doesn't make anyone better or worse than anyone else. But the little girl in me, that's how she kept her heart safe. And so I get to look at that today and I get to love on her and I get to start releasing that belief system because thank goodness, because of my quest of healing, I've learned how to, through my shamanic trainings, I've learned how to remove belief systems that no longer serve me. I can do that. I can do my own quantum healing on myself because not only was I taught how to do this, but I have that ability to do this. I get to actually heal her and to help heal that belief system of superiority and instead replace it with love. And it might take a few healings and some deep dives emotionally and journaling and talking to my partner and asking him to, with love, lovingly partner-esque coach me. We coach each other with partnership in mind. So we don't coach the way we would a client, but we do so deeply hold space for each other in a level that I never experienced before. And I'm so deeply appreciative of him. I feel so loved by this person. And I receive that love. And now I have the tears because I'm in such deep gratitude to have experienced that kind of love in this lifetime. Like I wouldn't want to wake up to anyone else but this person anymore. This is my person. And it's my person because we work on it with love and care every day. So I'll probably have him help me a little bit later to deep dive because luckily I just so happen to have a partner who's also a hypnotherapy master and NLP master, and he can help with some of the anchoring of new belief systems as well and helping to remove the other belief system. And so I invite you today, where are you? And before I ask that question, this is all coming up right now because the earth is changing. The vibration is raising. I don't know if you follow, but the Schumann resonance has been off the hook. The veil has been lifting. Now, when I say veil, I want to clarify what my belief system is around that, and you find your own truth. But what many people see as the veil is like this curtain, and it's our side and the spirit side. But what I believe to be true from my own experience is the veil is not a curtain. The veil is actually a vibration and a frequency. And what I mean by that is we as human beings in our 3D bodies are very dense. And so you can't see a higher vibration or frequency until you can do the internal healing work and loving work that raises your frequency. And so I have in the last 2 years, and my crown chakra just started tingling. I have started seeing things with my actual human eyes, not just my third eye, that literally were not there a week ago. And that is happening because the veil for me has been, my frequency has been lifting, has been raising, right? So as my frequency and vibration have been raising, I'm seeing the beings, the spirits, the energies that are in that frequency. So that is what I mean when I say the veil is lifting, right? The veil is disappearing because we as a human being species have been raising our vibration and frequency so that we can now see the things that have been there all along, but we couldn't see them because they were in a frequency that we were not vibrating at. We are now getting there. So you are seeing things with your actual eyes that you didn't see before. They're not new. Our vision is new. Even in that, I was saying something about my vision the other day because I now wear glasses, and I had this moment. I went, wait a minute, my vision is just fine. My vision is perfect, and it is exactly the way I need it to be. And when I said that, I took the deepest breath. So there must have been a belief system in there about my vision beginning to be not as much. Because right now I'm actually filming this and I'm actually taking a video, and I took my glasses off because the halo light actually causes big reflection in the glasses, and I wanted to be able to see my face. Now, for those that listen to the podcast, you won't, but I am practicing recording because my channeled beings that I channel called the Higher Self Collective are wanting me to start recording them on video, and eventually I will be releasing the videos of the channeled messages. And so I'm practicing also being able to talk to you with my lovely soft vision, aka a little blurry. And that's okay. And it's an invitation for me to get my contact prescription refilled. That might actually make things a lot easier. So now my question for you is this. If you start really getting honest with yourself, come into deep authenticity. Hearing this podcast today, where did it resonate for you? What is coming up for you? And are you ready? Because one of my values is self-responsibility. I require, and that is such a true statement because I just got chills like all up the right side of my head. In this current age, as the vibrations are shifting, we are being invited to come into radical self-responsibility on our healing work and taking ownership of where we're responsible in all the things we're experiencing. Whether it was that we didn't know when we were allowing, but now we know and we are still allowing. We are choosing to stay in environments that are not healthy, that are toxic, that are abusive even. And I can say this with love because I was in more than one abusive relationship in different realms. One was physical, one was emotional, and one was energetic. Well, I had a lot of toxic relationships and I learned from them, but I also learned where I was choosing to be tolerant and allowing it. And no, I'm not an advocate of you should just leave, because I honestly took time. It took me time and courage to be able to leave. So if you are in those situations, I see you. I encourage you to go start seeking help. Find the support system that can help you safely leave. It is out there, but in radical self-responsibility. Where are you noticing some things coming up for you? Do you feel triggered in your body today hearing my stories? Is there something happening in your body? Can you connect to your body? Can you feel that? Do you have a tightness in your chest? Does your heart literally hurt? Are you feeling a little irritated or angry? Are you feeling sad, or did it feel like you wanted to cry with me? Tune into those parts of you and honor, and then ask what's underneath that, and be open to the messages that come up, because they're being invited to come up so that you can love on them, heal them, and release them, because this is what's going to raise your vibration. I would not have the spiritual abilities that I have today if I had not done the work, because I can tell you from my own experience, and also with a lot of my clients who are doing their healing work, that our gifts came online stronger and clearer and more confidently as we healed, because that stuff gets in the way. That stuff starts to block your abilities. So in order for you to be deeply connected in the spirit world, and I know I have said this before, the internal physical world needs to be cleaned up. And so with radical responsibility, if you are someone who feels like you need support, go seek it. There's nothing wrong with going to a counselor. If you want spiritual counseling, if you feel like you need to be rebalanced and you need some energy healing, if you feel like you have, and you have an attachment on you of some kind that needs to be released, and you're ready and willing to acknowledge and do the work to help release it and to continue to keep it from reattaching, or your house needs to be cleaned. And I don't mean like I'm going to come in and clean your house like a housekeeping way, but do you have too much spiritual activity going on? Or is there a low vibration happening? Has it not been cleared in a while? Are you ready then to take the ownership of maintaining it once we do that? If any of those resonate with you, I'm going to invite you to reach out to me and schedule an appointment. These are the things that I do. These are the services that I now offer, that it was hard for me to even start admitting I do this. I have done multiple entity removals, and I'll tell you honestly, every person I've done that for was fully aware they had an attachment and approached me knowing they had one and that they needed help, that they've been doing their work on themselves, but they needed that last couple of hooks to be released. And they were super willing then to do the work to continue to heal so that they don't have a place that energy or entity or being can reattach to, right? So you have to do your work. You get to do your work to make sure that you don't have open spaces that you can get reattached to. So they are all willing to do that. So that's why they did that. I have gone in and cleaned houses, and this is all done remotely. I don't go to your home most of the time. I actually do this from the comfort of my home in my healing room and can reach out to you. I use the word quantum because most people have been hearing that word, but it's the shamanic field. And the quantum field, shamanic field, theta field, those are all the same. It is a higher frequency state where we can come in and actually, we being my spirit team, your spirit team, we come in and we connect, and I can actually see your house. I can see what's in it. I can see where you're interacting with it. I can see what's attached to you. I can see how it's attached to you. I can see where you've been responsible for it and how you were allowing it. I can see all those things. And if you're not willing to take self-responsibility to maintain this work, whether it's getting more energy work, we will, many times then after I finish this, there's spiritual counseling that follows, or guidance, or even skill development trainings that I do with you as part of this journey to help you become more trusting and confident in yourself so that you do not have to worry about how to take the next step, because many times we just need to know what the next step is. And so that's one of the things I do. I'm naturally an educator and teacher. I love educating and teaching. My desire is to share my wisdom and also to gain wisdom from others and share it. I feel like we as a community are stronger as a collective. I don't do this alone. A lot of things that I've learned from amazing other people, other channelers, other psychics, other mediums, that I've learned from my shamanic teacher. And I have embraced all the different ways that this works. I've embraced my own witchy side, my shamanic side, my spiritual side, my human side. And I still have all this work I'm doing too. I got so much coming up today, and I'm probably going to spend a lot of time crying and loving on myself. And that's okay, because that's healing. And so I invite you to do the same thing. If you feel like you need support, even if it's just to have someone hold space for you, who can help guide you. This is why I got all this training as a coach and do peer counseling. It's not just the spirit realm I work in. I help people learn how to release the codependent behavior and how to create more healthy behaviors, belief systems, habits. And I help people to learn how to deeply embody their lives and their bodies, how to connect back to your body. I even teach people how to come into a more pleasurable state of being, how to begin to love their bodies. And so I've been working for years as an embodiment empowerment coach, who then also started adding the spirituality to it, because that is the next step. That is the next step in evolution that we're going into, is that once we can come deeply embodied in this physical realm, we can then go into that higher consciousness. I do all of those things. I'm even a certified holistic nutrition coach, because nutrition is a huge supporter of our physical bodies. If we're not eating well, we're not feeling well. So I'm going to reach out and say, hey, if any of this resonates with you and you're ready to go the next step, reach out to me. My website got deleted, and I'll be honest with you, it's been taking a while for me to recreate it, because there's so many big changes that have happened in my life that I'm really sitting with how to be the most authentic in my own self. And in the meantime, there is a link directly to my scheduler, and you can go ahead and schedule with me. I have different options. If you just need an energy healing or an individual coaching session, those are all available in my scheduler. If you want a longer in-depth session where you get an energy healing and you get guidance and counseling or spiritual counseling, I'm a peer counselor, not a certified or trained licensed counselor. Peer counseling is mostly coaching training. So just make sure that you know that. My scope of practice is that I'm not a therapist. I am not a counselor. I am a coach, a mentor, an educator. And what I do is I give you the tools for you to use to help yourself. But I also hold space, and I listen at a deep level, and I love, and I send you compassion, and I allow you to be yourself without judgment in that space, and for you to learn how to feel safe and feel safe in your body. So if you have any of those needs, then please check out my scheduler, or my email is in there. Send me a direct email. We can have a free call to connect and see what you need. I'd love to support you in this journey. Maybe when we get off this podcast today, when you stop listening to it, you want to cry, because I know I'm going to cry. I'm going to end this with a channeled message. I'm going to take a moment, and I'm going to ground in, and I'm going to allow the higher self collective to come through. And I'm going to let them share with you their wisdom. Allow yourself to feel what feels authentic and honest. Feel free to take in and receive that which resonates with you. We are here. We thank you for listening to this message today. We are the higher self collective. We call ourselves this because we are a collective energies of you and your higher self. We are the part of you that is in the higher realms, that is in the collective energy. All of you are here on this planet having individual experiences, but in the higher realm of yourself that is not outside of you. It is within you, but it is a higher vibrational aspect of you. All of you are connected and in collective. And through that universal wisdom, we come to you as a collective source of energy that communicates with you and for you. Now, Tara's been sharing her journey today. She's been doing some healing work on herself, and we invite you to do the same. There is an invitation occurring at this time on this planet for all of you to begin to do your deep internal individual work, because you are being invited to come back into collective energy. You cannot do this if you still think that you are separate. You cannot do this if you believe that you are alone. In truth, none of you are alone. As a matter of fact, there are guides and angels, ancestors, star beings, and many others in your collective that are directly assigned to you and for you, many by their request. So as you walk around, you have hundreds of beings that are there on your behalf, working with you and for you. When you walk in a room alone, you are not alone. This room is now full of all of your, as Tara likes to call it, spirit team. This is an invitation for you to begin to change your thought process about who you really are. You are one and not one. Many of you are beginning to develop the abilities to telecommunicate. Some of you like to call it telepathy. Many of you have been in a room with someone where you know what they are thinking, because whether you realize it or not, they have communicated it and you have heard them and responded. So with love, you are beginning to communicate more non-verbally. You are beginning to communicate now with your heart. You are beginning to communicate now with your mind. You are beginning to communicate now with your higher self. And in order for this to become a clean, clear channel, the interference needs to be cleaned up. And in order for you to do this, you are being invited to accept the invitation of the cleanup. We cannot do this for you. You must decide on your own to clean up your internal environment so that there is room for you to put, as we like to say, a new home and decoration that is more serving and loving for you. So if you imagine your body as a house, would you want to walk into a messy home? Or would you like to have a beautiful, clean home? Now, some of you like to live in a messy home, but many of you in that messy home is simply reflection of your internal beingness. So if your home is messy, your being is also messy. We have no judgment for this. This is not our journey. This is your journey. And if you are wanting to go to a higher vibration, to have more soul growth, to have more expansion, you are being invited to lovingly, compassionately, and with self-responsibility to clean up your environment. By doing this, you have more energy flow. If you imagine the way that the sound waves go through the air in order to go into, now many of you stream your music. If there was not a clear radio frequency to go through the air, to go to the towers, to go to your phone, all you would hear is static. This is what your body is right now if it is not clean. And when we say clean, we are not talking about taking a shower, although that is good for you to shower at least once in a while. We are talking about internally. Internally, if you are still deeply in your woundings, if internally you are still deeply in the belief systems that are not loving, if you are still deeply in the practices of toxicity and of non-serving belief systems and behaviors that are non-loving, that are non-compassionate, that we see as more violence for yourself, deeper judgment, harshness, these things make your internal environment cluttered and messy. We do not say dirty because it is not dirty. It is messy and cluttered. And what that means is instead of flowing through with ease, things get stuck. And then they get stuck. And then they get stuck. And then you feel stuck. And you feel stagnant. And so we invite you with so much compassion and love for yourself to begin to clean up your internal environment. And you can do this with very small steps. It does not have to be all done today. In our world, where we are living at all times, time does not exist the way your time exists. Our time exists in a realm where it is an illusion that 1 minute, 2 minutes, everything can be done now. And yet it can be done 100 years from now, and it is still now. It could be done yesterday, and yet it is still now. It can be done tomorrow, and yet it is still now. So because there is no time the way you experience time, give yourself permission to do these cleanups, little time, little bits, little steps. You will see how quickly and how much bigger you get results. By taking the responsibility, even if it is just one small thing today, you've already done enough. Because, my loves, you are enough. You are a divine being that was created specifically in this universe to fill a gap that was missing. You are divine. You are love. Even those who are choosing to not live through the energies of love, who have chosen through their free will to go to the deepest depths of what you call evil or hate, their real being is love. And this is a concept we do not expect you to have right now. This is a big concept. And that choice creates pain and suffering. The only way at this time on this earth school that you as an individual being coming back to collective can assist yourself and others to ease your suffering is to do your own internal healing work, to love yourself, to come back to love, to experience joy, and let that radiate out. This will begin to slowly and yet quickly begin to relieve the suffering. For many of you, this might seem a very broad message today, and yet it is not. It is a message of reminding you of your greatness, of who you truly are as a being, of who you truly are as a divine spark of this universe that has continually aided the universe in its existence. And you chose to come to the most wonderful planet, Earth. It is a school for learning and growth. It is a place where you can go to your lowest lows and your highest highs. It is the place where the soul can grow the fastest. You chose to be here, and you chose to be a part of this journey for yourself. And we say to you with so much love that we believe in you, that we know you have the capacity and the ability to do this. That does not mean that this earth will be healed immediately and all will be sunshine and roses, because this is not the way our school works. But many of you are waking up, and many of you are choosing now to come from a space of more love. So we invite you to come to a space where you love yourself more. And loving yourself more means also loving the parts of you that you have deemed, you have determined are not lovable. In our realm, we do not see you as a light of dark and light. We see you as a whole being. And all of you is lovable. We have no judgment against you. We have no opinion of you. In our realm, which is your realm, you are simply source energy of love. And when you, my loves, can remember this of yourself, your world will begin to change. We thank you for listening to this message. We are now complete. We send you love. Thank you all for listening. I get to re-listen to that because once that processes through me, I don't actually remember what is said. I might have bits and pieces, but that is my first time releasing a channeled message to the public. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with myself and with the Higher Self Collective. We both and all of us send you love. And we ask you to just ask yourself, how can I love myself more today? How can I see myself as I am? And can I love the parts of me that are still wounded? Until next time.